has been concluded and must come to pass, he added. Believing that one of the two men was to serve wine would truly come out of prison eventually, Yusuf said to him secretly, when you are in the presence of the king, your master, mention my story to him. Okay? But what happened? He forgot. And who made him forgot? Shaitan is the one who made him forgot. Okay? Shaitan is the one who made him forgot. Okay. When you are in the presence of the king, your master, mention my story to him. But the man forgot to do so when he came out of prison and was with the king. The man's forgetfulness is another plot of Shaitan to make the Prophet of Allah, Yusuf, stays longer in prison, and he remained there for 7 years until the king had a frightening dream and could not find anybody to interpret it to him. So the king had a frightening odd dream, and he actually summoned his chief and advisors, okay, and telling them about this dream. Can you interpret for us? Can some of you interpret for us? But they all were puzzled about the dream, like the king himself, and they declared, or they said that, O king, or Al-Aziz, your dreams here seems like a false dream, okay? Or we are not qualified to interpret your dreams because your dream, your particular dream, is very strange to us. All right? Okay, let's continue. It was then the wine server. Now the wine server suddenly remember after all these years. Okay, remembered Yusuf and asked to be permitted to visit him in prison to seek the meaning of the dream. Coming to Yusuf, the man said, "O Yusuf, the man of truth, interpret these dreams to me so that I can take their meaning to the king and his men." He was so confident that Yusuf would not miss the meaning. So he said the king saw in his dream 7 fat cows eating 7 lean cows. Lean means thin cows. He also saw 7 green ears of corn and 7 dry ones. Means 7 dry corns. Okay. So this is what he dreamt. Tayyib. In the Quran, it says, or in Surah Yusuf, because Surah Yusuf actually gave a very detailed story of the story of Prophet Yusuf himself. So in the Quran it says, وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ إِنِّي رَأَى سَبْعَ بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ يَأْكُلُهُنَّ سَبْعٌ عِجَافٌ وَسَبْعَ سُنبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ وَأُخَرَ يَابِسَاتٍ يَا أَيُّهَا الْمَلَأُ أَفْتُونِي فِي رُؤْيَايَ إِن كُنتُمْ لِرُؤْيَا تَعْبُرُونَ. So that is what he dreamt. Okay, 7 fat cows eating 7 other lean cows. He also saw 7 green ears of corn and 7 dry corns. Okay, let's continue. Without bothering to negotiate his release, from prison with the dream that he had been asked to interpret, Yusuf said confidently. Now Yusuf interpret the dream confidently. So what does the dream mean? The 7 fat cows indicate 7 years of good harvest, and the 7 lean one indicate 7 years of famine. The years of famine will consume whatever is produced in the years of good harvest. The 7 green ears of corn indicate food will be available, and 7 dry ears of corn indicate what should be stored for 7 years. Thus, Yusuf instructed them to save for 7 years in preparation for 7 years of hardship, means 7 years of drought, which was to come. Okay, and this interpretation or this saying of Yusuf was also in Surah Yusuf itself. Okay, from verse 47 to verse 49. So like, okay, what inside your book, Yusuf, based on the dream, understood that there was going to be a famine for 7 years. Okay, so he advised the king to take immediate action to start harvesting and storing ample food supplies. Okay, and this was crucial to make sure that there is enough food for all of the citizens of Egypt. Okay, and furthermore, after 7 years, then there will be year of abundance. Okay, Allah will bring rainfall, and allowing the crops to grow and flourish. Okay? Okay, continue from our book. Okay. Thus, years of hardship to come. He also informed them that after the 7 years of hardship would come a year of plentiful rainfall and great prosperity in all fronts. The king's dreams was therefore from Allah's kindness to the community for sheltering Yusuf, and it also served to elevate him in rank among them, because when the man went back and informed the king of the meaning of his dream, the king was happy lah. The king was very happy, impressed with the interpretation, because no one who works in his palace can interpret except Yusuf. But Yusuf was a prisoner. Okay, so the king was happy as he realized the honor, knowledge, and good character with which Yusuf was endowed. So he ordered that Yusuf be set free from prison. Okay, now Yusuf was set free from prison, but Yusuf still had a bad name, right? Okay, so he wants to clear his name. He doesn't want to be called a criminal. Okay, or he doesn't want the citizens of Egypt to know that he is a criminal, because he is not a criminal, but by the way. Okay, so now, okay, before we read, so like I said, he wants to clear his name. Okay, so actually Yusuf, okay, we read the first part first. So when the order came for the release of Yusuf in your book, page 153, okay, he refused to leave. So Yusuf, actually the king allowed him to leave, but he refused to leave. Why? Because he will not leave until his name was clear of the false accusation by the nobleman's wife. Okay, last week I told that, okay, many traditions or many scholars of history said that the wife's name is Zulaikha, or some said it's not her name, it's her surname. Okay, whatever, it's Zulaikha. We say Zulaikha. So to clear his name from Zulaikha, he asked that his integrity be first established in the community to show the injustice he had suffered. Okay. So to Yusuf himself, he insisted on a fair trial to defend his honor. Okay. And there were two considerations by Yusuf. It's not inside your book, but two considerations that is more important than being free from prison. The first one was his integrity. Okay, Yusuf is a prophet, so he is innocent, and he need to protect his integrity, and his innocence should be established beyond any doubt of clearing him of guilt. Okay, in the matter of Zulaikha and Zulaikha's girlfriends, not girlfriends, I mean the woman together with Zulaikha, because they were the one who plotting to to Zulaikha is the one who plot them, then they cut their hands, right? So means because Yusuf want to clear his innocence, or innocence must be established beyond any doubt by clearing him of guilt in the matter of Zulaikha and her friends. Second consideration is that Yusuf need assurance that if he left prison, he would not be harassed by Zulaikha anymore, because he was scared that if he were to be released from prison, later Zulaikha might seduce him again, and he doesn't want that to happen. So if these two conditions is not met, then he prefer to stay inside prison. He prefer to be in prison and not to be released. Okay. And also Yusuf respectfully demanded that Al-Aziz investigate the affair of the woman who cut their hands. So the king became curious and summoned the wife of Al-Aziz and her associates for questioning. Okay, so let's continue from our book. Okay, so in your book it says that he asked that his integrity be established in the community to show the injustice he had suffered. The king emissary returned with this message from Yusuf. So the king gathered all the women who had been gathered by the nobleman's wife, and they all confirmed his innocence. Okay. The woman's response was immediate and spontaneous. They cleared him all of the evil charges against him previously. Okay. And in Surah Yusuf, Allah relate this story whereby this woman say, "Perfect is Allah. We know about him no evil." Okay. They said, "Qulna hasha lillah ma alimna alayhi min sud." Okay. Perfect is due to Allah. We know Yusuf had no evil. Okay. And now when the woman said that, Zulaikha was trapped. So she need to confess to the king. Okay. She need to confess to the king. Okay. Before we continue, the answer, or what Zulaikha talk in confession, it was also related in the Quran. Okay, so basically in verse 51, Zulaikha finally confessed to his husband Al-Aziz. Okay, and she said, now the truth has become evident. It was I who seduced him, and indeed he is truthful. Means Yusuf is talking the truth all the way since the beginning. Okay. قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين. That's the in Arabic or in Quran. Okay. So it's clear cut already that Yusuf was innocent, or Yusuf innocent was proven, and he was released from prison. Okay. So Yusuf stood before the king to thank him for his generosity, and Yusuf impressed the king after losing his freedom, and also after being falsely imprisoned for many years. Okay, but Yusuf was not angry, and Yusuf never seek revenge, or he never seek revenge to his own king or his master, and he was composed and show the noblest of qualities. Okay, so in your book, let's continue. Okay, from what we haven't read. Okay, in your book, then Yusuf said to the people, means okay, to the king and also to his wife and also to the woman, that is the truth about my story. I did not betray my master. I was faithful to him in his household, and I do not say this to claim holiness. Rather, it was Allah's mercy which protected me against sinning. This was an epitome of humility which Yusuf demonstrated. Now the second phase of Yusuf's trial. Okay, second phase of Yusuf's trial. Okay, if you remember in the whiteboard, on the whiteboard, I put 4 big main trials. Okay, the first one we have finished learning, which is the first one is jealousy, jealousy from his own brothers. The second one is about temptations, yes, temptation, nafs. The third one is false accusation, and the fourth one is actually leadership lah. Okay, which is what we are going to talk now. Okay, now in your book is the title says the second phase of Yusuf trials. Let's read. Thus, this was how the first phase of Yusuf trials with calamity ended. The second phase of trials with goodness began. Okay, the trial is something good lah. Okay, what is it? Okay, began as the king now loved and drew Yusuf closer to his inner circle. He had impressed the king with his eloquence, wisdom, originality, and trustworthy character. Yusuf combined knowledge with power, faithfulness, deep understanding, and the ability to administer things, all of which became known in ways Yusuf handled the matter of the dream. Therefore, the king did not hesitate before he offered to make Yusuf an assistant regarding forthcoming plans for his people. Okay? Okay, now the next topic is about Yusuf management of the economy, meaning that, okay, he asked for a position. What is the position about? Let's read from our book, page 154. Yusuf management of the economy of Egypt. Yusuf did not seek a position or worldly wealth for himself. Instead, he asked for it only to honor the king's request to be his assistant. Thus, he asked to be in charge of the treasury to preserve the wealth of the land. He wanted to help distribute it with trust, justice, and compassion for his people. So, he asked to be what? In charge of the treasury of Egypt, like the minister of finance or treasury for Egypt. He wanted to be the controller economy of Egypt, and also controller of the what we say, granary, to ensure that they were well equipped to endure the long famine that is about to happen. And it was not of Yusuf's self-interest, but he felt that it was his personal responsibility, okay, to make sure that the citizens of Egypt would not die due to famine. Okay, so what we can learn from this part is that, you see, the young boy who was betrayed by his own brothers and thrown into the well was now established as the chief minister of Egypt. So Yusuf, what we can learn is that Yusuf has patience and perseverance, sabar. Okay, patience and perseverance, and above all that is his total submission. Okay, means his reliance upon Allah's will, Allah's decree, whereby Allah had already resulted in great reward. So Yusuf knew, however, that the greatest reward for patience and being righteous a person would be actually in the akhirah later. Okay? Okay. Continue from our book. Okay? Thus, he asked to be in charge of the treasury to preserve the wealth of the land. He wanted to help distribute it with trust, justice, and compassion for his people. Yusuf knew too that the position of authority would enable him to spread his message of faith in Allah and the way of his forefathers. Who is his forefathers? Ibrahim, Ishaq, and Yaqub. He was a blessing to the people of the land in those trying times. Therefore, this is how Allah planned elevation and honor for Yusuf in this world, quite apart from that honor of the hereafter that awaited him. The years of ease and prosperity came as predicted, and Yusuf wisely managed the economy of the land by storing enough provision for the hard days ahead, so that when the days of hardship and famine came, the stores of Egypt were full of grains and different types of food, which made people come from other lands to buy. Among those who were Yusuf's brothers, who once sold him out and were now here to buy grains from Yusuf himself, from their brother. Aywa. Okay, now the next topic, Yusuf meet his brothers. Yusuf meet his brothers. Okay, not in his country. Okay, not in Canaan, but in Egypt. Okay, so in the third year, in the third year of the general famine, two brothers came to his land to buy grains and entered into his presence. So, basically, their father, their brothers from Canaan, whereby there is their hometown, they heard that in a neighboring country, which is Egypt, the chief minister, they don't know who is the chief minister, but they know that the minister and his treasurer, which is Yusuf, is a kind person, whereby you can buy provisions from them. So Yaqub sent all his sons. How many sons Yaqub have? 12, but Yusuf is not there. Yusuf is in Egypt. All of them except Benjamin or Benjamin. Okay, the youngest, to purchase provisions. Okay, let's continue reading. Okay. He recognized them at once because of his deep insight and the power of his mind. But they don't recognize him. They refer to their brothers. They don't recognize Yusuf. Okay. So when these brothers arrived in Egypt and they were ushered into the palace to see the treasurer, which is Yusuf, Yusuf recognized them immediately, but they did not recognize them. Why? The first reason is because they thought that he died in the well. The second is that if he did not die also, okay, his face changed, because when they throw Yusuf, Yusuf was a kid. Now he was an adult, okay, a 20 or 30-year-old man. So Yusuf face looks different to them. If okay, whereby when Yusuf was a kid, tu daripada dua sudut, okay. So Yusuf recognized them, but they don't recognize Yusuf, okay, because of the separation at the well. Okay, they do not know him, and how would they? Because to them, Yusuf had passed away, maybe in the well, okay. And also, how would they know that their little brother Yusuf, okay, had been sold to the Egyptian caravan, who had been sold into slavery, and now become the treasurer or minister of finance for Egypt? So Yusuf is the one who start talking lah, because Yusuf is the one who got authority in the palace. Okay, so now what happened? Okay, as they filled in one after the other before the king of Egypt, he recognized all 10 of them who had come, leaving his only brother, which is Benjamin, from the same mother behind. Because these 10 brothers who visited him, It's not from the same mother, because we know that Yaqub have several wives. Okay, Benjamin and Yusuf came from the same mother, but the others came from a different mother. Okay, food was being rationed according to the number of people. So Yusuf asked them about themselves. So Yusuf started to talk. Okay, the details is not inside your book, but Allah also Allah also relate the details in the Quran, whereby Yusuf started to inquire about their family. So this brother says, we are actually 11 brothers and the children of a noble prophet, and his name is Yaqub. The youngest is at home, Benjamin, tending to the needs of our aging father, and our father is getting older and older. So it was said that in a sudden rush of emotion, tears started to well in Yusuf's eyes, but he tried to hide it lah, so that the brothers don't feel suspicious. Why? Because Yusuf's heart felt heavy, longing for his hometown and longing to see his father and his younger brother Binyamin. Okay. So in the Quran, it was said that Yusuf struggled to regain his composure. Okay. So he managed to ask them, but he managed to ask these brothers. Okay. Are you all truthful people? You all truthful people or not? Okay. So these brothers, when they heard Yusuf ask them like that, are you truthful people? They are confused. So they replied, what reason should we have to state an untruth? Okay. So, what reason, okay, or treasurer, that we have to state an untruth? Okay. So Yusuf tried to hide his concern about the welfare of his own father and what is inside the household at home. So, but Yusuf acted suspicious. Okay, Yusuf acted suspicious as to the truth of their story. Okay, so he ordered, okay, the people in palace or the workers in palace, okay, to treat his own brothers as official guests, and for them to be given as much grain as they could carry home. Okay, now we continue from our book. Okay, so inside your book, it said Yusuf asked them about themselves, and they answered, telling him of their position among their people back home, and how many they were in their family, and how Yaqub was their father. He then asked them about their younger stepbrother and instructed them to bring him along with them the next year, or else they should not bother to come back to Egypt. Now, problem. Okay, problem for them. Problem for the brothers. Okay, so Yusuf now make a deal. Or not, it's a deal and a threat. Okay, it's a deal and a threat. What is it? Okay, okay. Before they left home, Yusuf made clear, okay, to them his terms for dealing with them in their future. So Yusuf informed them that next year, okay, if you want provisions, okay, next year, if you want provisions, you need to bring back your brother, which is your youngest brother, Benjamin. Okay, so I can reward your provisions double. Okay, double. But if you fail to do so, Yusuf will limit their provisions, will limit the measure of their provisions, means the amount of their provisions. Okay, so in your book it says that, okay, Yusuf instructed them to bring him along with them the next year, or else they should not bother to come back to Egypt. He had encouraged them to come. He had encouraged them to want to come back with his hospitality towards them. He was fair to them in measure, as he loaded the luggage with wheat and the other food items, and even returned their money back to them by hiding it in one of the measuring vessels in their luggage. So Yusuf was very kind, still kind. Okay. So Yusuf actually ordered one of the workers to put their money, because they purchased goods, but Yusuf ordered one of his workers or servants, we can say also, to put their money back in their saddlebags, so that when they return home, they'd have enough money to return and purchase more provisions the next year. Okay, let's continue. Okay. And why did Yusuf did that? Yusuf did that all to encourage them to come back and bring their step brother along, Benjamin along. The brothers knew it would be burdensome to bring Benjamin to Egypt, knowing how dearly their father was attached to him. But they still told him of the minister's request as a condition for their coming back to Egypt for food ration. Okay, so about this story, the Quran also talks about it. Okay, the Quran also talks about it. Okay. فَلَمَّا رَجَعُوا إِلَى أَبِيهِمْ قَالُوا يَا أَبَانَا مُنِعَ مِنَّا الْكَيْلُ فَأَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا أَخَانَا نَكْتَلْ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. Okay, so when the brothers returned home, okay, they said, "Oh, our father, we have been denied further supplies. So send our brother," and this brother is Benjamin, "with us so that we may receive our measures and we will definitely watch over him." Means take care of Benjamin. Surah Yusuf ayah 63. So when Yusuf heard this, okay, do you think he angry or he what? Yeah, he was enraged. His father, Yaqub was enraged. Okay, and as expected in your book, it says the father refused and also angry. So how does Yaqub, their father, want to trust them when they had failed him terribly with Yusuf? Okay, they failed their father with Yusuf. Okay, and his father Yaqub, remembering his previous loss of Yusuf, so Yaqub did not want to part with his youngest son Benjamin. Once again, the brothers promised to safeguard their younger brother, and once again Yaqub felt his heart constrict with fear. Now Yusuf, okay, it's not inside your book, but this is what we can see, the emotions of their father, of Yaqub. Now Yaqub was troubled by their demand, because in truth he had never recovered from the pain of his own son's betrayal of his trust. Okay, and for all he knew, this might merely be another plot of getting with another brother, kan, which is Benjamin. Okay, but as in the case of Yusuf, Yaqub was powerless. His sons must return to Egypt to bring more grain or more provisions to feed their families. And if they are talking the truth, they would not even be able to approach the ruler, or Yusuf, means the treasurer of Egypt, unless his youngest son, which is Benjamin, accompanied them. Thus, finally, Finally, Yaqub gave in. He surrendered his will and allowed Benjamin to follow their brothers to Egypt. And also he surrendered his will to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever Allah might decree for him and his sons. Okay. Continue from our book. Okay. As expected, the father refused. He feared that the boy might suffer the same fate as Yusuf, as expected lah. When the brothers opened their luggage, okay, now when their brothers opened their luggage or their saddlebags, amazed, what they found is that their money had returned to them, and they were excited. So they told their father and persuaded him that by taking Benjamin with them the following year, the brothers would have an additional free load of grains given to him. Thus their father made them take an oath. Sekarang you need to sumpah, an oath, a swear, to protect and bring Benjamin home safely. He further ordered his sons not to enter the city through the same door, but through different doors to be safe from evil eye. And in your book, page 155, in the footnote, it says that evil eye is the affliction that a person suffers when another individual looks at his or her endowment. Because not only Yusuf is handsome, their brothers are also handsome. Maybe, who knows, there might evil eye that can happen. Furthermore, all were handsome members of the family. Okay? Alright. Okay. So about this part of the story is also narrated in the Quran. So Allah says, Qala lan ursilahu ma'akum hatta tu'tuni mawthiqan min Allah la ta'tunnani bihi illa ayyuhata bikum falamma atawhu mawthiqahum qala Allahu ala ma naqulu wakil. Okay, Surah Yusuf verse 66. Okay, then about the don't enter from one doors but enter from different doors. Okay, the next verse 67, or sorry, the verse 60, verse, yeah, correct, verse 67. Wa qala ya bunayya la tadkhulu min babin wahidin wadkhulu min abwabin mutafarriqah. Okay, oh my sons, do not enter Egypt from one door but enter from different doors or different entrances. Okay, so the thing is also, Yaqub, yes, he was very close to Yusuf and Benjamin, but whatever he did, he still loved his other sons lah as a father. Okay, and he knew that the older sons means the brothers that are older than Yusuf and Benjamin, they were stronger than Yusuf and they were capable men. And also Yaqub was afraid that there might be harm that might befall to one of them, okay, on this another trip to Egypt. Okay, that is why he purposely demanded them to make this oath. Okay, and also to minimize the risk, he also made his son promise to enter Egypt by different doors. Okay, the next story is something interesting, whereby Yusuf made Benjamin and Yusuf made a plot. Now Yusuf pula made a plot. Okay, Yusuf made Benjamin and the missing golden bowl. And the missing golden bowl. Okay. Let's read from page 155. The brothers obeyed their father and soon met Benjamin meet Yusuf, who leaned to him and confided in him that he was actually his lost brother, but he should keep that information from the others. So it's actually like this lah. So as their fathers advised them, the brothers entered Egypt through different doors, and soon they were in the presence of Yusuf again. Okay, so Yusuf welcomed them as privileged guests and invited them to a feast. This is not inside a book, so ada makan-makan. Okay, Yusuf welcomed them like VIPs and also invited them to a feast. Okay, with great difficulty, he tahan himself, or he withheld himself from embracing his brother Benjamin, because he really loved Benjamin and because he came from the same mother, and Yusuf like Benjamin lots. Okay, so Yusuf showered his guests, means his other brothers, with presents and hospitality. Afterward, Yusuf also invited them to stay in Egypt for several days. Okay, means they were invited to stay in the palace. Okay, and Yusuf fed the 10 brothers 2 by 2 for eating and also for sleeping. Okay, means 2, 2, 2, 2 means the palace got rooms, but one room 2 people. Okay, Yusuf fed the 10 brothers 2 by 2. Okay, for eating and for sleeping. Okay, and Yusuf fed with who? Benjamin lah. He purposely fed with his youngest brother Benjamin to be lodged in the same room with him. And later in the room whereby Yusuf and Benjamin alone, later Yusuf disclosed, "Indeed, I am your brother." So Benjamin was surprised lah, of course. He doesn't know that and Benjamin also, his own brother also, or the youngest one also, doesn't expect that the one that he loved is going to be a minister of finance. Okay, so when Yusuf declared that, Benjamin was overjoyed and immediately hugged his older brother. Okay, so okay, it's not stated about this story lah. Basically, the part about hugging and everything, So in Surah Yusuf ayat 69, okay, Allah says, indeed I am your brother. Qala inni akhuk, okay, I am indeed your brother. Fala tabta'is bima kanu yaf'alun. Okay, so they hug and both of them cried, and Benjamin was a bit worried because because why? Maybe he felt protectless with his older brothers. Maybe, who knows, that maybe his older brothers might harm him in Egypt pula, kan? Far away from their father at home in Canaan. Okay, but Yusuf reassured Benjamin, whereby in the same surah, and in the same verse 69, Allah says, "Fala tabta'is," or Yusuf says lah, whereby Allah relate, "Fala tabta'is bima kanu ya'malun." Okay, oh my younger brother, or Benjamin, do not despair or what they used to do to me. Okay, they used to what last time throw me inside well. So do not despair or do not worry lah. Okay, over what they used to do to me. Okay, next day, now Yusuf plan, Yusuf plot. Okay, so the next day in your book, page 155, Yusuf ordered his workers to hide in Benjamin's luggage, okay, a golden bowl that he used to drink and measure food for people. Okay, he is not Yusuf. It's not belonging to Yusuf. It belongs to Al-Aziz, or the king. Okay, Yusuf ordered his workers to hide in Benjamin's luggage a golden bowl that he used to drink and measure food for people. Then he asked that it be announced to the people that the king bowl was missing. Okay, so Yusuf filled the brothers' bag with grain, with provisions, and he secretly planted the king's golden bowl in Benjamin's saddlebag or luggage. Okay, so as they were about to leave, okay, Yusuf declared, okay, there is a thief among them. Okay, there is a thief among them, and he asked the soldiers to lock the gates, and then they start a search lah. Search, okay, and before the search, okay, the brothers protested. Okay, the brothers protested, whereby Allah relate this story. Okay, qalu wa aqbalu alaihim madha tafqidun. They ask, what is missing? Okay, what is missing? Okay, what is missing? Why want to search? What do we steal? What is missing? Okay, qalu nafqidu suwa al-malik. Okay, the soldiers said that our king's golden bowl is missing. Okay, then they sumpah. They also make an oath. Okay, so they make an oath by Allah. Okay, in Surah Yusuf verse 73, by Allah, you have certainly known that we did not come to cause corruption in Egypt, and we have not been thieves. We are not thieves. So they said, qalu tallah laqad alimtum ma ji'na linufsida fil ard wa ma kunna sariqin. Then they also declared, or they also add up to what they are saying. Okay, and this is surprising also from them. Okay, although actually they don't really steal, but they still want to protect themselves, or they want to clear their name. Okay, qalu fama jazauhu in kuntum kadhibin. So they actually asked back Yusuf, because Yusuf said, one of you are thieves. Okay, and they said, we come here peace. We don't want to cause corruption in this land, and we are not thieves. Then they ask some more. Qalu fama jazauhu in kuntum kadhibin. Okay, what is the punishment if one of us tell lies? Not one of us here is not referring to the brothers, no. Referring to the people in the palace also. Means you also, what is your punishment, O Yusuf? If you tell a lie, means you claim us, one of us, to be stealing, but we don't steal, but you are telling lies. So actually they are quite demanding also, or quite brave to talk like that. Okay? So Yusuf replied, qalu jazauhu ma wujida fi rahlihi fa huwa jazauh kadzalika najzi adh-dhalimin. Okay. So Yusuf replied, in our tradition, okay, and this is also the teachings of our forefathers, and also the teaching of Prophet Ibrahim. So for those who steal, or for those who the missing item is in their hands, or in their property, okay, then they need to be jailed. They need to be jailed. Kadzalika najzil zalimin, and that is the best punishment for those who did that. Okay? And that is the best punishment for those who did that. Okay? So, doing the search, behold, they found the golden bowl in Benjamin's bag. Okay, they found the golden bowl in whose bag? In Benjamin's bag. Okay, so let's read from our book a bit. Okay, next page, right? Okay, so he asked that it be announced to the people that the king's bowl was missing, and that there was the promise of a load of food as a reward for those who ever found it. Hearing this, Yusuf's brothers approached the town crier and were told what was lost. They were also accused of having stolen it, which they denied and told the crier how they were too honorable to do anything of such. The crier then asked, what should be the punishment if they were guilty? Okay. Meanwhile, the law of the land was to make a thief a slave to whoever was the stolen property owner. Slave or prisoner lah, basically. Prisoner was the stolen property owner. Okay. And the brothers agreed to the punishment. And the brothers actually agreed to the punishment. Okay. Because the brothers actually asked, like in the Quran, it says that, okay, just now I said, Qalu fama jaza'uhu in kuntum kadhibin. One of the brothers said, what is the punishment if for those who are lying? So the people in fact, some said, this is not Yusuf who is the one who said. One of the workers in the palace who said, Qalu jaza'uhu ma wujida fi rahli akhihi, means if the stolen items was if anyone of your hands, okay, the punishment is that you will work as a slave, or it means you will be a prisoner and become a slave to us. Okay, and that is also the punishment that the Shami'ah of Prophet Ibrahim taught. Okay, so the search began. Their luggage was the first to be searched before that of Benjamin, to hide the plan and not make them suspicious. Eventually, the evidence was in his luggage, means in Benjamin's luggage. If the brothers had not agreed that the thief's punishment was to serve as a slave to the owner of the stolen property, it would not have been possible for Yusuf to keep him from going home with the brothers, or to even bring him into the service of the king. Indeed, Yusuf had extreme wisdom and foresight. He had nothing in this plan except with the instruction of Allah. So this plan, so Yusuf, we can say Yusuf tak pandai-pandai. What he do this is not pandai-pandai for him. It's Allah's instruction. It by Allah's instruction. Okay. He had done nothing in this plan except with the instruction of Allah, because there was a great benefit in it all to bring his parents and family to him in the land of Egypt. Okay. So like I said, when they found out that the golden bowl was in Benjamin's saddlebag, so these brothers were shocked and bewildered by the evidence before them. Yet, but what we can also learn and what we can also see that, okay, in the continuation of the story is that, okay, although they did not have the means to disprove it, means it's because by right none of them are stealing. It was Yusuf is the one who did that, right? Okay. Neither did they make slightest attempt to defend Benjamin's order. Means they don't defend Benjamin. Okay, because what they said next is something that, how to say, that is something selfish lah. What we can say. Okay. So when the brothers realized that the bowl had been discovered in him, because his own brother, right? Okay, they all said, well, if he should steal, it wouldn't be surprising for a brother of his had stolen before. And by this they meant Yusuf. Okay, Yusuf did not react to their false comment openly, but within himself he said with all dignity, no, you are rather an evil Lord to be saying this about me. But he said that to himself, means he said that quietly. None of the brothers heard that. Okay. Afterwards, they tried to be nice and gentle in an attempt to persuade him to release Benjamin to them. Okay. So they make a deal lah, but Yusuf reject the deal. Okay. So what they did, okay, they start begging and begging and begging Yusuf. They start begging and begging and begging Yusuf and started to tell stories at home. So what is story about? Okay, in your book, you tell the story, but not really in detail. So basically, they started to reflect what actually happened lah. Okay, so they recall their promise, their sumpah to their father. So they said that, okay, at home we already make promise to our father that we need to protect Benjamin. Now Benjamin, as you said, steal. Okay, and our father is already old, very old. And if our father heard that Benjamin steal and was locked in prison here, okay, he might die or he might be totally sick due to emotions. Means old age, right? Okay, okay. He might mourn and mourn and mourn, and that mourning might kill him. Then they spoke and started to beg with Yusuf. Okay, talk about their father's age and their father's weakness, and also their father's great and big love for Benjamin. And also, they repeated many times that Benjamin had a brother, and their brother was also lost in the past. And since their father was also angry and broken-hearted on that, he would probably die when he heard the news that Benjamin was in prison. So they beg and beg and beg, okay, instead to take one of them in Benjamin's place. Means swap. Okay, Benjamin is not prison, but one of the brothers in prison instead. But Yusuf remained adamant. Yusuf still say no, don't want, cannot. Okay. Okay. So in your book, it says that let one to replace him and stay behind while the rest of us take him back home, for he has a father who is an old man, and he will be too troubled to learn that he has been detained. But Yusuf refused and insisted that the thief was to be detained. Okay? Okay. So, okay. Okay, so what we can also learn that Yusuf's plot or Yusuf's shim, we can say, and Yusuf's action here were carried out under a divine plan for his brothers and father, and it was also by Allah's instruction. And Yusuf's primary objective was actually their repentance and their reform. If Yusuf had indeed revealed himself to them at that moment, at that time, there might have been no repentance, but merely more envy and resentment. The desired lesson and effect was therefore to be produced through suspense, drama, and mystery, letting the brothers feel the threat of being denied provisions to feed their families and of encountering unknown troubles back in Egypt or in Egypt. Okay. So now the elders started talking. Okay. I think 2 months, not 2 months. 2 weeks ago, I said some of their names. The elders is said to be Judah, or Arabic called Yahuda, and that is where Yahudi comes from, or the third word Yahudi. Okay, so Judah started talking, or the elders one started talking. Okay, he took charge. Okay. Okay, we read first from our book. Okay. Last paragraph on page 156. When the brothers saw Yusuf's determination, they discussed among themselves. Okay. And the elders of the one said, so Judah said, this is what he said. We promise our father. And it was said, Judah was the wisest one among them lah. Okay, we promise our father that we would return with Benjamin, but here we are completely helpless. And we all have once done as we did with Yusuf. There is no chance of our father believing our story this time. I therefore choose not to go back with the rest of you. I cannot stand father's displeasure. I will only go back when Allah makes a way out of this problem, or our father gets over the sorrow and pardons us. Tell the story to father. After all, it was in the presence of many people that it all happened. Okay, this is what the brother talked. But what exactly the brother said was also related in the Quran. In Surah Yusuf verse 80, Allah narrated, uh, Qala kabiruhum alam ta'lamu anna abakum qad akhadha 'alaykum mawthiqan min Allah wa min qablu ma faradtum fi Yusuf falan abrahal arda hatta ya'dhana li abi aw yahkum Allahu li wa huwa khairul hakimin. Okay, I will never leave this land, Egypt, until my father permits me or Allah decides for me, and he is the best of judges. So he offered to remain in Egypt while the others returned to home, to Canaan with Benjamin. Okay. Okay. So what happened next? Okay, what happened next is that they return home. Okay, they return home. And as expected, does the father believe them? Of course, the father will not believe them. So as expected, the father did not believe their story. How could he, when they had done what they did with Yusuf? However, he was only right when he doubted their story with Yusuf, not this time with Benjamin, but he has been led to doubt them because he was sure that his son Benjamin could not have stolen as they claimed. It must be another evil plot, he thought. Okay? It was another evil thought, he thought. So, in Surah Yusuf, verse 83, also Allah narrates the story. After their father heard this latest news, okay, but the father was sadder, angrier, but it was said that the father did not collapse or die, basically, as what the brothers feared. Instead, the father responded to this breaking news with the same words that he had spoken earlier when he was separated with Yusuf. What is this? Fasobrun jamil. Indeed, patience is very beautiful. Okay? Same words. Okay? And in the Quran, it added, okay, Surah Yusuf, verse 83, Qala bal sawwalat lakum anfusukum amruk. Qala bal sawwalat lakum anfusukum amra. Fasobrun jamil. Asallahu ayyatiyani bihim jami'a. Innahu huwal alimul hakim. Okay? Oh our father, rather your souls, your nafs had enticed you to do something. So patience is the most beautiful. Or patience is indeed very beautiful. Perhaps Allah will bring them to me all together. And indeed, Allah is the one who is knowing and also the one who is wise. Allah is all knowing and the most wise. Surah Yusuf, verse 83. Okay. Okay. Scholars of tafsir actually give tafsir in the ending part of verse 83. Indeed, he is the one who is knowing and the one who is wise. Okay. Which is Allah basically. But some scholars said by this time actually, or whatever happened to Yusuf, actually Yaqub know, or whatever happened to Benjamin, Yaqub already know. Okay, so it might be how to say? Yes, Yaqub is sad, but he actually knew what happened lah, because he is a prophet, and prophet get revelations. Okay, wow, ta'alam about that thing. Okay, next is about the extraordinary example of reliance upon Allah, or the extraordinary example of reliance, berharap kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Actually, we haven't finished. Still long. The extraordinary is next page. We haven't finished reading, so we finish reading first. Okay, we finish reading first. Okay. So basically, just now we said that the father thought that it must be another evil plot. So the father's grief over the loss of Yusuf only increased with the detention of Benjamin, who used to be a consolation for him over the loss of his brother. Okay, yeah, okay. But what could he do other than to show patience and trust in Allah as he has always done? He just submitted to Allah's decree and hoped that they would all return to him again one day. Allah relate to us what happened at their meeting with their father. Okay, this is actually before the meeting and part of the meeting lah. So, because just now I relay ayah 83, but here from ayah 81 to ayah 84, irji'u ila abikum faqulu ya abana inna banaka saraq wa ma shahidna illa bima alimna wa ma kunna lil ghaibi hafizin. واسأل القرية التي كنا فيها والعير التي أقبلنا فيها وإنا لصادقون قال بل سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا فصبر جميل عسى الله أن يأتيني بهم جميعا إنه هو العليم الحكيم وتولى عنهم وقال يا أسف على يوسف وابيضت عيناه من الحزن وهو كظيم, which means return to your father. Who said this? Return to your father? Yusuf. Yusuf is the one who said, return to your father and say, oh my father. So Yusuf also clever. Of course, Yusuf is clever. He's a prophet. So Yusuf teach them what to say to their father. Okay, but still they don't know that the one who talking is actually Yusuf. The one who is talking to them all the way, or this person in charge is actually Yusuf. So Yusuf said, return to your father and say, oh our father, verily your son Benjamin has stolen. And we testify not except according to what we know. And we could not have known the unseen. And ask the people of the town where we have been and the caravan in which we return, and indeed we are telling the truth. So he, Jacob is who? Yaqub lah, the father, said no or nay. Nay is no lah. But your own selves or your own nafs, your own nafsu have beguiled you into something. So patience is most fitting for me. Fasabrun jamil. Okay, maybe Allah will bring them back all to me. Truly only He is all knowing, all wise. And he turned away from them. He turned away from their brothers, or from his not brothers lah, his own sons. Okay, and said, Ya asafa ala Yusuf. Alas, my grief for Yusuf. What aina, and his eyes turned white. Actually, that is the more true meaning lah. Means he lost his sight. Okay, because the Quran say abiyadbat aina, abiyadbat from the word abiyadlah means white. Okay, his eyes turned white means he lost his eyesight. Okay, minal huzn, why? Due to grief and sorrow that the father was suppressing. Okay, now next topic is extraordinary example of reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we can learn from the father is that the father, Yaqub Alahisalam, had firm faith that Allah's will was working in just some strange, mysterious way. But whatever is it, in the end, it will turn to something good. This is what we can see or we can learn. Okay? Yeah, strange, right? Very mysterious events, strange events. Okay? But Yaqub had firm faith and have firm belief that Allah's decree, Allah's will was working in some strange, mysterious fashion, and that it will eventually come to a very good ending. But the pain of separation, okay, and also the strangeness of the situation work upon his father's heart lah, means his father's sorrow, and he was overcome with grief and wept uncontrollably. Okay, in the verse there, it already ended with about being blind, but there was a story before being blind, basically, because there was a dialogue between the sons and their father, which I'm going to narrate now, or going to tell the story now. So he cried and cried, means Yaqub cried and cried, and this time he had not lost one son, but two. Okay, two more, in fact, three lah. Who? Yusuf, then Benjamin, and the oldest, Judah. He remembered Yusuf and wept until he became very sick and lost his sight. Now the brothers became concerned about their father, okay, and they start to approach their father and try to, how to say, macam cakap baik-baik, or try to what, a word reconcile lah, or try to also to soothe their father. So they reproach him. Okay, in Surah Yusuf verse 85, okay, Allah says, Qalu tallahi tafta'u tadhkuru Yusufa hatta takuna haradan aw takuna minal halikin. Okay, so they make an oath also, by Allah, you will not cease remembering Yusuf until you become fatally ill, or you become those who perish, means die lah. Okay, but the father replied, okay, and this verse is quite popular. Okay, qala innama ashku bathi wa huzni ila Allah wa a'lamu minallahi ma la ta'lamun. Okay, qala innama ashku bathi wa huzni ila Allah wa a'lamu minallahi ma la ta'lamun. Okay, which means I only complain my suffering and all my grief to Allah alone, and I know from Allah what you don't know. Okay, just now I said about the commentators of tafsir. Okay, the mufassir said in the previous ayat, actually is a mistake by me. It's about this part actually, not the, just not about the what, about no, about verse number what? It's not about 83. It's this verse actually. It's not inside your book, but verse 86 is actually at verse 86, the ending of verse 86. Okay, which when the father said, okay, which the father said, I know what you don't know. It's not Allah no who said that, but Yaqub is the said that. Okay, I only complain my suffering and my grief to Allah, and I know from Allah. But he said from Allah what you don't know. So the commentators of tafsir, okay, or the mufassir, saying in this part, okay, I know from Allah which you do not know, was expressing his belief in the goodness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he anticipated that Yusuf Alahisalam is still alive, and the vision he conveyed to him when he was young would still come true. What vision or what dream that he still come young, the 11 stars, everything, he still believe in that dream. Means something good is going to happen. Of all these strange, mysterious things, something good is going to happen sooner or later, or whatever. Okay, means sooner or later. Okay, so he addressed his sons, okay, and asked them to go back to Egypt and seek information about Yusuf and Benjamin. Okay, overlooking their lack of sympathy and support, he tried, despite his own grief, to give them comfort in their uneasy and troubled state. Okay, so now the father said, okay, verse 87, Ya bani yadhahabu fatahassasu min Yusufa wa akhihi wa la tay'asu min rawhillah innahu la yay'as min rawhillahi illa al-qawmul kafirun. Which means, O my sons, go and find about Yusuf and his brother, and do not despair from the relief of Allah. La tay'as, ayas. Okay, al-yas means to have, Malay say putus asa lah, or English say despair. Okay, do not despair. Okay, from mirahillah, from the relief of Allah. Indeed, no one despairs of relief from Allah except al-kafirun. Okay, so do not ever despair from the relief of Allah, because I'm sure everyone memorized Surah Al-Inshirah. What does Allah say after that? Which means, yeah, correct. So after all the hardship that they face, there will be a good ending eventually. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Okay. So after that, the next topic is Yusuf revealed his identity. Okay, Yusuf reveals his identity. Okay, still got a bit of time. Okay, Yusuf revealed his identity. Okay, so these 9 brothers now returned once more to Egypt. Okay, and they stood before Yusuf, and this time their pride was broken. Their dignity was stripped away. Okay, they were not boastful anymore. Okay, because they used to be boastful, and their dignity was stripped away. Okay, so they pleaded with Yusuf that tragedy had come to them. Okay, so it was at this point that the brothers realized the weakness of their faith and determination compared to that of their father, who had suffered grief too much and for far too long. Their father's plight moved the brothers with pity, and that humbled their hearts for their helplessness. In this new state of humility and admission of guilt and weakness, they entered upon Yusuf in the next meeting. They spoke respectfully to him, trying to invoke his kindness in their condition of surrender. Seeing their present sober state of hunger and weakness in a foreign land, and remembering their father's grief over the loss of both sons, along with his own high status and comfort in the land of Egypt, pity and compassion for his parents and brothers seized Yusuf. It brought him to tears. So what happened next is that, okay, Yusuf then spoke to them. Okay, Yusuf start talking. Okay, after they have pleaded and ceritakan or tell story of the tragedy that had happened to them. Okay, so Yusuf asked them, and this was relayed in the Quran, verse 89. Verse 89. What does Yusuf say? So Yusuf said, "Qala hal alimtum ma fa'altum bi Yusuf wa akhihi id antum jahilun?" Do you know what you did with Yusuf and Yusuf brothers when you were jahilun, when you were at that time ignorant? Very direct question, but this question really surprised them or make them sudden, what we say, super shock. Okay, do you know what you did with Yusuf and his brothers when you were ignorant? Then what happened? It didn't take long for their brothers to realize that the person who they are being talking all along, means this person who had status in Egypt all along, is their lost brother, their long lost brother, and they start to tremble in fear. Okay, so the next ayah, verse 90, Allah relay. Okay, qalu a innaka la anta Yusuf, qala ana Yusuf wa hadha akhi qad manna Allahu alayna. Okay, qalu a innaka la anta Yusuf, are you indeed Yusuf? Now they ask, you are Yusuf after all this time? Okay, are you indeed Yusuf? So Yusuf replied, I am Yusuf, and this one who is my prisoner is indeed my younger brother Benjamin. Allah has certainly favored us. Okay, indeed, he who fears Allah and is very patient, then indeed Allah will not allow to be lost the reward of those who do good. Okay, innahu may yattaqi wa yasbir fa inna Allah la yudhi'u ajral muhsinin. So this verse is also very powerful or important, is that whoever who had piety, taqwa and patience, verily Allah will not allow or make the reward loss for those who do good. Or in Malay I can say, Allah tak akan tinggalkan pahala atau permintaan orang-orang yang baik. Okay. 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 There was a story, but this story might come from the Israeliyat. Is that okay? Okay, this story is from the Quran basically, from what I relay. Okay. Okay. The thing is that why they don't recognize Yusuf at first also, firstly, like I said, they either thought that they died or he died. Sorry, he died. The second one is that Yusuf is older and his face changed. The third one is that it was said that Yusuf wore a crown. You know, kings wear crown, right? So they don't. So he thought, who is this man wearing crown? So it's also then also one way of not recognizing him. Okay, so when it was said, when in the verse, when Yusuf asked them, do you know what you did with Yusuf and his brothers when you were ignorant? Okay, so these brothers started to be speechless and they stare at Yusuf for a long time until they say, are you indeed Yusuf? And Yusuf finally removed his crown and said, I am indeed Yusuf. So they finally, or final, apa istilahnya in Malay apa? Pecatan belang. Tahu-tahu that the one who is talking to him all this time is Yusuf. Okay. So what we can see is that, or what we can learn is that, imagine lah the deep shame and humiliation, malu kan? Okay, that the brothers must have felt at that instant moment. When Allah had tested them, instead they listened to shaitan, allowing envy, jealousy to dominate their lives. While they had tried to destroy Yusuf, when Yusuf was weak, vulnerable, kena buka baju, kena campak dalam perigi, okay, and plan to murder him, but he had repaid their evil by generosity and kindness. He referred to Allah had repaid their evil by generosity and kindness. While they had hated and envied Yusuf, Allah showed Yusuf that he has nobility in his heart. Okay, so they said, finally they said, after becomes speechless for so long, in verse 91, Allah relay, qalu tallah laqad atharaka Allah alaina wa in kunna la khati'in. Okay, Allah relay what they said, what this brother said, by Allah, certainly Allah has preferred you over us, and indeed we have been sinners for all this time. Okay, Surah Yusuf verse 91. Then Yusuf replied them in verse 92. Okay, Yusuf replied them in verse 92. Is that what does Yusuf replied? Qala la tathriba alaykumul yawm yaghfirullahu lakum wa huwa arhamur rahimin. There is no blame upon you today. Means I don't seek revenge. So what we can learn is that good people don't seek revenge. Jangan balas dendam. Okay? Yaghfirullahu lakum. Your sins, I'm not going to forgive lah. Who forgives him? Allah. So Allah is going to forgive you. So yes, you are sinful, so ask forgiveness from Allah, but I won't do revenge upon you. Okay? Yaghfirullahu lakum wa huwa arhamur rahimin. Wa huwa arhamur rahimin, and Allah is verily the Arham ar-Rahimin, which is the most merciful. The most merciful lah, means or he is the most merciful of the merciful. Okay? Okay. Actually, it's just time. It's just nice, but I think this one, right? Nak sambung ke nak stop? I think stop, because the next is actually the reunion lah. Okay, this next part is already the reunion already. Okay. Okay, I think we read from the book. Because we haven't read that from the book, page 158 and 159, until the topic on Yaqub smells Yusuf in the air. So basically, Yaqub smells Yusuf in the air. We are going to postpone for next week. So Yusuf reveals his identity because we haven't read, right? I mean, we read part of it. So it brought him to tears. Thus he revealed his identity to them as instructed by Allah. He had decreed all that happened wisely, including forcing the brothers into a condition of complete weakness and helplessness. So by his grace, relief would follow for them all. Addressing them, Yusuf said, "You all know what you plotted against my brother and I in your ignorance, envy, and carelessness. I advise you to fear Allah always and be patient in obeying Him and avoiding all that He prohibits. It is that which secures a human the most honorable position." The brothers now recognized Yusuf and knew that they had indeed wronged him. They also saw how Allah had miraculously saved him and elevated him in rank above all them despite their evil scheming. And the next topic, Yusuf forgives his brother. In this position of strength and victory, Yusuf, the prophet of Allah, was honorable and charitable. He forgave them their wrongdoing towards him and said nothing against you over what you did in your ignorance. Seek Allah's forgiveness and ask him to cover your shame, to cover your shame, to cover your shame. Forgiveness and paying evil and hate with good and patiently overlooking the faults of people is the general character of the prophets. They never seek vengeance for themselves when wrong. Same like it's actually another story. Okay, it's actually the story of Fathu Makkah, as you know. What does the prophet say? Huh? Same thing, almost the same thing like what Yusuf said lah. Okay, idhabu fa antum tulaqa. Okay, all of you go, all of you are free people. Okay, because when the Quraysh later doing Fathu Makkah asked, "O Prophet," okay, because the Prophet actually asked, okay, what do you think I'm going to do with you today? Means, and they were very trembling. Okay, is the Prophet going to kill us? Is the Prophet going to punish us? Okay, so they started to say, okay, O Prophet of Allah, we know you to be kind. Before you, in fact, before we are being Prophet, you are the kind, and when you are Prophet, you are the kinder than us. So pardon us. So the Prophet said, "Idhabu fa antum tulaqa." All of you just go. You are all free. Means what? He forgive them. So the jalan cerita or whatever is it, right? Okay. Whatever people did bad to us, do not seek revenge, because revenge will eventually bring to something more terrible in the next phase. Okay, forgiveness is the best way, and that is how the Prophet did, with reconciliation. Okay, Wallahu ta'ala alam bisawab. So inshallah, okay, the next story whereby Yaqub smelled with Yusuf, and this is actually the last visit to Egypt. Okay, is that they reunite. Okay, they reunite in Egypt. We are going to take next week. Any questions? So no question. I think we end here. We end with tasbih kafarah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wa sallallahu wasallam ala nabi Muhammad. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.